What happens when a 40-year-old woman's heart begins to feel something for a 20-year-old young man? Let's find out. Margaret lived alone in her house. Her son had recently gone to live with his father. Her husband no longer lived with her because he had married someone else. Margaret had become extremely lonely and sad. Every morning she woke up, went for swimming, then returned home and went to her shop. This was her daily routine. For a few days, Margaret had been looking for a tenant because she needed some extra income. She had a spare room, but no one had shown up yet. One day, when she reached the shop, one of the women working there told her that a man named Matt had come asking for her. Margaret didn't say anything, and the woman fell silent. Later that night, after closing the shop and returning home, Margaret received a message from Matt, her former husband. She listened to the message, but it didn't affect her. She had learned to live on her own and didn't need anyone's support anymore. The next morning, she went back to the shop, but this time, Matt himself came to meet her. He asked for a little time to talk, so they went to a nearby cafe. Matt took a deep breath and said, "You even changed your name, but I'm here for another reason. Our son Patrick has been missing for about 2 weeks now. He hasn't come home. I've already filed a police report." Margaret was shocked, though she had no idea where her son could be. Both of them sat in silence for a while, and then Matt quietly walked away. Margaret remained seated for some time before returning to her shop. Matt had given her Patrick's photograph, which she placed on the shop's door in hopes that someone might recognize him and tell her something about him. Night fell, and it was time to close the shop. As Margaret stepped outside, she saw an unconscious stranger lying nearby. His name was Alex. She helped him up and took him home. His hands were injured. Margaret gently cleaned his wounds and bandaged them. She cared for him attentively, but when she went to the kitchen to bring him some water, Alex disappeared. When she returned, the room was empty. She stood there for a moment, wondering where he had gone. She understood that he must have left after regaining consciousness. The next morning, Margaret received a call from Matt. He said that their son Patrick had been found in a canal, but he was no longer alive. Hearing this shattered Margaret. She went completely silent. Matt asked if she wanted to come see their son one last time, but Margaret refused. She no longer had the strength. Her son's death had hollowed her out from the inside. Later, when she visited his grave, everyone had already left. Margaret sat there alone for a while and cried. She had lost the only person she had left in the world. The next day, when Margaret went swimming, she saw Alex again. She recognized him and approached him gently, asking how his hand was. "I was the one who took care of you yesterday," she said. Alex replied that his hand was completely fine now and thanked her. They talked for a while, and Margaret felt a small spark of happiness inside her for the first time in a long time. After chatting, Margaret said, "If you don't have a place to stay, you can live at my house. I have a spare room. If you want to rent it, you can." Alex agreed immediately. He needed a place to stay. Margaret took him home to show him the room. The upstairs room was empty. The kitchen and bathroom were downstairs. Alex looked around quietly. He didn't have many options, so he decided to stay. That night, Margaret cooked dinner for Alex. But when she returned from the kitchen and picked up her purse, it felt lighter. She realized Alex had taken some money from it, but she didn't say anything. Not today. Alex had just moved in, and Margaret didn't want to say anything that might drive him away. In the middle of the night, Margaret suddenly woke up. She looked toward the room upstairs, but it was silent, completely empty. She walked down the stairs and saw Alex sleeping in the downstairs room near the TV. But as Margaret passed by, Alex opened one eye and stared at her with a strange look. Ignoring it, Margaret returned to her room and went back to sleep. In the morning, there was a knock on Margaret's door. When she opened it, a woman was standing outside, a detective. The detective asked, "Your neighbor mentioned that your husband hasn't been living with you for quite some time. Is that true?" Margaret replied, "Yes, he hasn't lived with me for a long time. I don't know where he is now. Maybe he's moved far away." The agent said, "Andrew's wife can't afford the expenses for her son, so I'm gathering some background information." Hearing this, Margaret went silent. She truly knew nothing about it. Then the agent noticed the car parked nearby. She began asking about the vehicle, but before Margaret could answer, Alex walked out of the room and said, "That's my car." Without suspicion, the agent left. Margaret felt relieved hearing Alex speak up for her. She gave him a soft smile and said, "You saved me from trouble. If you want to take my car for a drive, go ahead." She handed him the car keys and told him to go out for a while. Alex took the car and left. Meanwhile, Margaret went to a shop to buy a few things for Alex. When she returned home, she saw Alex in the yard, smoking a cigarette. Margaret felt a flash of anger. She sternly said, "Don't smoke here." Then she walked inside to put the items away. Before leaving again, she grabbed a drink from the kitchen and brought it outside to him. They sat together and talked for a while. Both of them seemed genuinely happy. Alex handed his cigarette to her, and Margaret began to smoke. She hadn't smoked in a long time, but at that moment, the feeling it gave gave her was unlike anything she'd felt in years. They continued talking. Margaret looked at his hand, now completely healed. She gently touched it, and with the same softness, Alex placed his hand over hers. Margaret asked, "Where are your mom and dad?" Alex replied, "They're still around, but I don't live in that house anymore. I left a long time ago." They continued talking for a while. The next day, Margaret took him to the swimming pool. She asked if he knew how to swim. He said no. So she brought him into the water and began teaching him. "Stretch your arms like this, loosen your body. Slowly you'll learn to float," she explained. Alex trusted her words. Margaret helped him conquer his fear, holding his hand and guiding him gently through the water. Her heart began to feel lighter. It was as if she finally found someone who could share her pain and comfort her loneliness. During practice, Alex suddenly lifted Margaret into his arms as though they were playing in the water. Alex was no longer a stranger to her. Later that evening, when Margaret stepped outside, she ran into Matt. "You've changed so much," he said softly. "I want to spend some time with you. Please, meet me just once." Margaret couldn't refuse Matt's earnest request. They met at a hotel and spent the night together. Even though Margaret let him come close, deep inside she felt suffocated, trapped by emotions she couldn't fully understand. Meanwhile, Alex spent the entire night searching the streets for Margaret, but he couldn't find her anywhere. Exhausted, he eventually returned home. The next morning, as Margaret was taking Alex's clothes to wash, she found a photo in his pocket, Alex with his mother. Margaret understood immediately that he missed his mother deeply, which was why he kept the picture with him. After finishing the laundry, Margaret saw Alex starting her car. She hurried over and asked, "Where are you going?" Alex replied, "I'm just going for a drive. If you want to come along, you can." So the two of them got into the car and drove off. After a while, they arrived at a place by the ocean. Alex spoke softly, "Come on, let's swim." Margaret hesitated for a moment, but Alex had already removed his clothes and jumped into the sea. A few moments later, Margaret followed him into the water. Both of them felt happy as they swam through the waves. After a while, Alex suggested a game. "Let's see who can stay underwater the longest." They both closed their eyes and sank below the surface. Alex couldn't last more than 2 minutes, but Margaret stayed under longer. She was used to swimming every day. Afterward, they returned to shore and changed their clothes. Alex came close and said, "When I was a kid, I used to play this game. I'd dive underwater to wash away my bad habits." For a moment, the two drifted closer to each other, but just as quickly, they pulled away. On their way back that evening, Margaret asked, "Does your mom know you're out with me?" Alex replied, "She doesn't know anything." As they were driving home, Alex spotted some of his friends on the road. He asked Margaret to stop the car, stepped out, and said, "You go ahead. I'll come later." Then he walked away with the boys, and Margaret turned the car around and drove home alone. The next day, while Margaret was at her shop, Matt came to see her. He was holding some old clothes belonging to their son. "These were lying at home," he said. "I thought you should have them." Margaret took the clothes and went home. She handed them to Alex and told him to take whatever he liked. Alex picked a few pieces and put them on immediately. Seeing him in those clothes, Margaret suddenly felt as if she were looking at her lost son again. She followed him with a heavy heart, overwhelmed by memories. Late that night, Margaret woke up suddenly. She heard the sound of running water from the bathroom. She slowly walked toward it and found Alex sitting alone under the water. Margaret went to him, knelt beside him, and gently washed his shoulders with her hands. Alex stayed silent, while Margaret's hands slowly drifted into the water. Between two broken souls, a new kind of bond was forming, one neither of them fully understood. The next day, Margaret attended a party where she ran into her husband, Matt. He looked sad and defeated. With a broken voice, he said, "Things aren't going well between me and my wife these days. I've been staying in a hotel. If you want, we could meet there again." But Margaret refused. Alex was also at the party. He walked over to her and asked, "Who was that man?" Margaret sighed and said, "He was my first husband." Alex looked at her and said, "If you want, you can come with me." But Margaret refused again. Alex walked out of the party, only to run into Matt outside. In anger, he punched Matt and then stormed off. Margaret returned home exhausted, but around midnight, she heard strange noises coming from the upstairs room. She slowly climbed the stairs and quietly peeked through the door. Alex was inside with another girl. Since the death of her son, Margaret had built herself into someone strong, someone who didn't break easily. But this moment finally shattered her. Alex saw her crying and tried to comfort her. After that, the two of them became extremely close and shared an intensely emotional and intimate moment. They spent the night together. Meanwhile, Matt went looking for Margaret and arrived at her workplace. Margaret told her assistant to inform Matt that she wasn't there. After leaving, Matt ended up running into Alex at a pub. Matt told him to forget the last fight. He just wanted to talk. Then he asked Alex, "Why are you so involved with Margaret? What do you want from her?" As Alex finished his drink, Matt suddenly noticed that Alex was wearing his dead son's shirt, the son who was no longer in this world. Alex told Matt to leave, but Matt was completely drunk. When Alex tried to help him outside, Matt pretended to need support, and the moment he got the chance, driven by jealousy, he viciously attacked Alex. Meanwhile, at Margaret's house, she received a voicemail from Alex's mother. She wanted to talk to him. By the time Margaret returned home, Alex was already badly injured. She realized that she was partly responsible for everything that had happened. She apologized to him and took him to the hospital. And it was there, at the hospital, that Alex's mother found her lost son again, because Margaret had contacted her and told her everything. And that's where the movie ends. So friends, this was the full story of the 2016 film Mammal. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We'll meet again in the next video. Till then, bye and take care.